So Musashi, Miyamoto Musashi is known sort of as the lone wolf of the samurai era. This is a deep story about him we could get into. He is literally like Japan's Robin Hood. Like he's their legendary legend story that they like that we talk about. All right, but he was more than just a traveling swordsman. So he there's a lot to him, but he was known to travel the Japan countryside, getting in duels, and it's like 60 duels or something. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but that he didn't lose, and these were duels to the death essentially. So you can see where the legend comes from. He was a philosopher of combat and of life. He lived by the way. In our martial art, we call it the code. In Zen Shotokai, we call it the code. It's a life path of discipline, self-reliance, strategic thinking about your life, and martial practice. His book, the Book of Five Rings, is the one he's probably most known for. Is cornerstone in martial arts study, in military strategy and leadership, across pretty much anything. In the same way that Jocko Willink preaches about extreme ownership, Musashi believes that a warrior must take full responsibility for their life and their actions. No excuses, no shortcuts. At the end of his life, he retreated to a cave and wrote the Dokodo. The cave's a real place. Around 1645, I think, if I'm pulling that off the top of my head, but this cave in Rigondo, I think I'm pronouncing that right, Rigondo, Spirit Cave in Kumamoto, I think, Kumamoto, Japan. I should write this down, but after, all his travels and his duels, and, it's debatable whether he was in some actual war or not, honing his craft as a samurai swordsman, a battle strategist, and an artist, he sought solitude to reflect on his life and distill his wisdom into his scrolls. He didn't write a book, there were scrolls. He had already written the Book of Five Rings, sort of his last life opus on strategy. But in his final days, he wrote the Dokodo, The Way of Self-Reliance. It's a set of 21 principles meant to guide him and his disciples through life, right? Unlike the Book of Five Rings, the Dokodo is personal, right? Philosophical, emphasizes detachment, simplicity, discipline. His principles reject materialism, reject emotional attachment, and dependence on worldly comfort. Something I think that we could all kind of stand nowadays with our reliance on the internet and constantly being on. It teaches you a life of self-discipline and inner strength, right? I've heard a lot of older martial artists and some of the upper ranks will say, "I walk alone." I've seen that written, and after reading this book, I've kind of understand it now. He wrote this as he was preparing to die. Like, it was towards the end, and I believe he was sick. I'm not sure, but he wrote this when he was preparing for his death. And he's writing this as a warrior who's lived a life of being a warrior for real, who had not only mastered combat, but also his way of life. And he's writing this down. Shortly after writing it, he passed away. And he leaves us with a legacy that continues to inspire me, other martial artists, real life warriors, and just people who seek wisdom. So I want to go through those. There's 21 of them. There's a lot of them, but I want to go through them. And I thought it would be great to sort of memorialize this in one of these episodes. And I thought I had done it, but it turns out I'd just written a blog post about it. But I wanted to put it in this format so you could listen to it, so I could listen to it. So let's get into it.